This is the Fleet Europe podcast, hosted by Luberto van Buiten and Fleet Europe's remarketing expert, Johan Verbois. Today's topic, the future of BEV sales, building trust and capturing opportunity. Introducing today's guest, Eva Hoonhout, used car lead EMEA at Tesla, and Friedrich Trosse, Secretary General at AECDR. Enjoy the episode.
Hello and welcome to this Fleet Europe podcast, and in this podcast we discuss the most relevant trends and news from the remarketing industry. I'm Luberto van Buiten, Editor-in-Chief at Nexus Communication, the publishing house of FleetEurope.com, GlobalFleet.com, and organizer of industry events like the Fleet Europe Days and the Fleet Europe Remarketing Summit. And we do that together with my co-host of the day, Johan Verbois. Johan, welcome.
Yeah, thanks. Happy that you could invite me here because, as always, I've got always something to say, I think.
That's why. That's why you like to be on stage.
No.
So you're on stage at the remarketing event.
If I can challenge our automotive industry, certainly if it's about electrification, then I'll always be there.
Then you're there. You're our man. Very good. So I will be the host of this episode, which is all about the future of battery electric used vehicles. The theme of the day is building trust and capturing opportunity. And we are not going to discuss that by ourselves, Johan. We have two wonderful guests with us. Eva Hoonhout, used car lead Europe, Middle East and Africa at Tesla. Welcome.
Thank you.
And Friedrich Trosse, Secretary General of the AECDR.
Thank you for having me.
Welcome to you both. Before we move on, just in short, Eva, what does our used car lead at Tesla do?
Basically everything that is related to used cars, whether it's the trade-in of non-Tesla vehicles that need to be remarketed, or the Teslas that we trade in or purchase from our partners, and then refurbish them and sell them in via our certified pre-owned label.
Okay, very good. We're going to talk more about that, of course, the label you have for that. Friedrich, I'm wondering, I have to peek also, AECDR. What does that mean? What does it stand for? And what do you do?
Well, it stands for Alliance of European Car Dealers and Repairers. I know Brussels acronyms are always a handful, but I think the name speaks for itself. We represent franchise dealers and repairers. So we are an integral part of the automotive supply chain with actually the largest number of employees within the sector throughout Europe. And what we stand for mostly is the link between the consumer and the manufacturer, but also between the market. So we are, in the end, we obviously have the image of being just the salespeople, but we are the people that make electrification happen. And I think that is a very interesting part of the automotive supply chain.
Yeah, because your members, they both sell the new ones as well as the used cars, of course.
Exactly.
So,
and repair.
And repair, I would say, and service.
I think that's the most important part, to be honest.
Yeah. Why do you think it's the most important part even?
Well, I mean, now we're talking about electric cars, and the most important part is that while we always hear these stories about that electrification is going to eliminate the mechanic, let's be honest, the bread and butter of the mechanic workshop was the oil check for 100 years. What we are seeing, however, is that it has to be the battery check. And this is a service that you can provide and that we need to provide under certain circumstances, which, of course, nowadays is not so easy as just dipping a little stick into a battery that will probably electrocute you. So cars have become more complicated. This is something that we address together with our members, but the repair, maintenance part is playing much more into the service part nowadays, and that's why we are a very important interlocutor for the used market, because we actually build the consumer trust.
Yeah, oh, right.
But also here, I think That's exactly why used vehicles is key, because indeed after sales will change. So if they are excluding used vehicles from their activities, that's not a good idea, because they need to compensate the loss in after sales in other areas. So they need to really be agile, and on the whole the value chain, everything they can do, they should focus on. Also on used EVs.
And it impacts the first-hand market.
Yeah,
That's the worst thing, because if you want to get rid of it, I mean, there's no car that is driven until beyond.
No.
Almost every car will eventually be a second-hand vehicle, third-hand vehicle often.
Yeah.
So what you need is to have these markets and to also have them in the back of your head, specifically for politicians, because obviously what you want is to electrify or, alternative fuel sources, of course, but generally you want to drive down CO2 emissions. But that you can only do if you take all the population on board. And with, I'm sorry, we have somebody from Tesla here. I hear you want to make and you can maybe tell more about it, a more affordable vehicle, but Tesla is certainly not the brand that is, for the lowest income class. You're more of a premium brand. Mm-hmm. And these used vehicles, they need to be the new, let's say, Volkswagen Beetle.
Yeah, that can be the entry point towards
exactly
the
because
new vehicle
in new vehicles are too complicated to have a Beetle that runs and runs and runs. But you need to have the used vehicles which are there under our current economic circumstances, and there needs to be a proper will to push them into the market. But that is...
Sorry to interrupt, gentlemen. I want to go to our first chapter. We divide this podcast into a couple of chapters. I'm already thinking about skipping one because it's good that we go directly in depth, of course, because that's what we are discussing here. So, Eva, I also want to hear from you. Friedrich is mentioning that it's a driving computer. Well, I think, in my opinion, Tesla was the first maybe even to recognize that, because the screen in your car is bigger than the steer. But it also means something for after sales and the way you have to train the mechanics, etc. How was that for you? How do you do that?
I think at Tesla we've always had the approach where we have software-defined vehicles, and the software and the hardware go hand in hand. So at the beginning, it was all about the big screen, and that was something new. But because everything is in the screen, and our strategy for hardware has been consistent over time, we are able to release software updates to the entire running fleet that is in the market already. We've recently produced our 8th million vehicle. If we now release a software update, it can be released to all those 8 million vehicles. Because the hardware is the same, and that is something that keeps the used car fresh and the car up to date. It makes it interesting for used car buyers, and that combination of having a long-term hardware strategy combined with a software purpose vehicle, that is crucial, and that's much different for BEVs than when you look at like traditional OEMs or petrol vehicles.
Yeah, I hope you don't do it like the Apple, that you stop updating older vehicles, because that might be a little bit dangerous on the roads. At some point.
So far, they don't do that, so that's okay.
I know.
But the interesting part is that when you look at it, like a Tesla Model 3 from 2019 runs on the exact same software as the newest Model 3 that's going to be delivered tomorrow to a new customer. And that is pretty unique, and keeps the used cars fresh and up to date.
Yeah, and I think that's we're coming to that later, because this is also a very important point, because it all comes down to the trust of the customer, and because you actually have let's say brand new software in a 2019 car, and you can't say that for your combustion engine car, of course, but we prepared a statement for the both of you, so we are now going to the statements. I must admit, we kept it quite polite, to be honest. Eva, here's yours. Building trust in battery electric vehicles sales requires a long-term focus on customer education.
Yeah, I tend to agree with that statement. I think it's important that we focus a lot on the qualities and the benefits of of electric vehicles. There have been a lot of misconceptions about EVs. They were new, people didn't know what to expect, and then people started to talk about range anxiety, charging possibilities, maintenance costs, battery state of health. And when you look at some more mature markets, like Norway, for example, those fears are not there. They are not there anymore because people have experienced firsthand that it's not a problem. And in other markets, they're maybe not there yet, and that requires a bit more time and education by like what are the benefits of the vehicle.
Norway is a very specific case. Norway has, of course, a huge state fund and means that many other countries don't have. But when I speak to my Norwegian colleagues, it is not just the money, but also the fact that they have just stuck to the strategy for a really long time.
Yeah.
And not made anyone nervous about we might go this way, we might go that way. No, we decided in, I think, 2017, we're going to go this path. And this has assured customers. And of course, the investment has also followed. For the investment, I'm really sorry that I picked out my phone, but I really had to look this up. Because while I was just waiting downstairs, I was commenting on a post of ASEA. Actually, not of ASEA, but then the European Alternative Fuels Observatory said, while ASEA claimed, well, the infrastructure is not rolled out properly, they said actually Netherlands, France, and Germany are the home of almost 2/3 of charging points. Then the Alternative Fuels Observatory said, yeah, but I mean, of course, because they're also the home of 58% of the cars. And then they said, I'm sorry, infrastructure follows the vehicle. And I, as a car dealer representative, just had to comment. It's like, so what do you think we need to do? Is this you can charge your car when you buy it from us? Or is this, how's the movie called? Field of Dreams? Buy it and they will come. You need ambition, and you need ambition, and I think that the rollout of infrastructure has been done very wrong, has been led too much to member states, I must say, because if you look at member states like the Netherlands, Belgium, Germany, the Nordics, generally it's fine. If you look at specifically, I think it was Bulgaria, that have super fast charging in their capital, and the rest of the country is just a desert. But I'm sorry, that will not convince the mass population to change their vehicles, and that's the problem. We need to get everyone on board.
Yeah, I think you're right. Let's play a little bit devil's advocate here. I think what was very good in the strategy of Tesla was that they immediately recognized
it goes hand in hand.
It goes hand in hand. You have to do both.
Yeah.
And it took the European manufacturers years to come up with a thing like Ionity to do it together. I don't know how that is going at this moment, what their pace is in putting those stations, those charging points.
Yes. And to this day, we're very upset about the fact that Tesla did not come to use the existing dealer networks, but did their own. Because obviously, if our dealers could sell Teslas, we'd make billions.
Well, you can nowadays. I mean, there are many used Teslas in the market.
Yes, nowadays now, but originally it was direct marketing.
Yeah, I'm so glad that my statement for you follows this discussion.
No, we're here for conversation after all.
Of course. That is, the governments don't see the importance of used car sales in their EV policies. Friedrich, that one was for you.
That's very clear. The governments look at how many cars leave more or less the factory floor. That's the number we have decided on with the 2035 goals. And in the end, we must say that decarbonization as a whole is completely out of the picture when you speak to politicians, because they want results before the next elections, and to present them with any plans that take maybe longer is usually not attractive. I don't want to come off as a hater of politicians or anything. I work in politics. That's just where it comes from.
Yeah.
But I know that this is the problem. We need immediate solutions, and we can never think of, okay, we will need to make this plan, and we also need a follow-up plan.
We already got there, but still, I want to hear the bumper when we're going live, the topic of the day. And as you know, the topic of the day is building trust and capturing opportunity for used battery electric vehicle remarketing. That's a mouthful. Johan, to start with you, can you give a little bit of an overview on how we're doing on the residual values? Because they're not that good, but some say they're getting better, others say no, they are still as worse as they have ever been.
I think, unfortunately, I can put this as well in the sector of there's not a lot of good news coming out, and the news that comes out is often wrong. Honestly speaking, yes. The last report that was announced just now, they were saying that residual values go down with 2-3 percentage points. But residual value is not a percentage, it's a value. So if you see, it has gone down 3 percentage points because the price has gone up 5%. So it's not a residual value percentage is a calculation. It's not on its own thing. So there's also there a lot of information is not really activated well. I understand value is still too low. Why? Because indeed education isn't there. People are only focused at risks, and no one, unfortunately, you might have another opinion, but not enough people in a dealership, honestly speaking, help consumers. You need to be advisors. You need to. I've heard this from a. Yeah. So, yes. No. I will leave it up to you afterwards, because we do a lot of research in dealerships as well. And my colleague consultant, he reminded a phrase that he overheard a salesperson saying, and I thought it was perfectly fine. It was extremely good. He was saying, like, look, I will not sell you an EV. I will only advise you on feasibility, affordability, everything, and you will need to make the decision if you buy. I think that's super. Because people need to make the choice, but we need to help them. And if we have the old style salesperson, to call it like this, that's not going to work. You need to have a different type. I don't know if you have done a lot of work on this as well, by education and training and everything. But not everyone does. Certainly not in a used car environment.
Okay, I want to hear Eva and Friedrich. Let's start with Friedrich, because you definitely do not agree.
No, absolutely not. I mean, we have, from a German association, for example, I can tell you that we have just introduced a partnership with Avilo to have state of health checks on batteries. But generally the problem is, throughout Europe, we cannot pop the hood open, check what the car is, and then sell it. If you go, I don't want to mention any manufacturers here, but one manufacturer, they have a platform for used cars, which is copyrighted 1996, and they have not changed the values of the cars. So if you want to look at a specific car, you still get the same values as for an ICE car. But that doesn't matter. It doesn't really matter if it ran 20, 30, 40,000 kilometers. You want to have the battery check, because you cannot look if a cylinder is wobbly or something. So it requires a completely different set of skills, but it also requires a completely different set of possibilities for dealerships and repair shops to sell these cars.
Yeah, you need a different approach.
We don't just need a different approach. We just simply also need access, because often you just cannot check, and then this is really a problem that we've been tackling at a European level as much as possible. That we need proper data to proper access. It's not actually. I want to avoid the word data. Need to have access to the vehicle, so that we can attach the tools to check the battery, attach the tools to check how the ADAS systems are calibrated, so that we can give the customer a service, because we can say, hey, this is a used car. We check the battery, it's fine. Worst case, we change like one cell, whatever. But now it will definitely run for another couple of thousand kilometers. And we also calibrated the car in the way you like it, and even put your favorite radio station on. Wonderful. But we can't do that. And as long as we can't do that, then you cannot criticize us for not giving proper service.
I'm
very defensive because I was criticized publicly for this several times. But it is a very, very crucial point for me.
Gentlemen,
I agree. I think we agree.
I understand, and well, that's good to hear. Eva, you are working at an OEM.
One of those manufacturers, yeah.
One of those manufacturers, indeed.
No, and I think I understand the struggle. I mean, I can only take the responsibility for the OEM I work for, of course, but I think it comes down to transparency. We want to provide transparency for the customer so that they can make an informed decision on what the exact state is of that vehicle that they're going to buy. And with an ICE vehicle, they tend to go to a workshop, somebody checks the mechanics, and then they have a bit of an idea of what the value of the car is. For BEVs, they look a lot at the high voltage battery, and that can be checked, of course. I also think that we sometimes try to make the topic a bit bigger than needed, because if you charge the battery to 100%, you know what the expected range is of the vehicle. Of course, weather influences how it was charged in the past, has also an impact on the battery. So what we have done, we also believe that we should provide transparency to owners and drivers of the vehicles, is that beginning of the year we released another software update where you can, as an owner or driver, can do this long test where you completely charge the battery, decharge it, and then it will provide you a percentage. It will tell you what the quality is of the battery of that specific vehicle. And that is, at the end of the day, what you want as a driver, but also if you are about to trade in that vehicle, to understand what is the quality of that specific car.
Yeah.
But why are we as automotive always talking about a percentage again? Because, and I think here we have talked about this before, I don't know when, but that a percentage for a consumer doesn't mean a lot anymore, because it always is 85%, 92 is oh, that's bad. No, it's always bad. So where has it been? What is it now? Where is it going? For that consumer, it might be enough. It might be okay.
I agree with that, with you on that. Indeed, you want to know, okay, what were the amount of, what was the range new and what is it now? For batteries, maybe also because of the telephones, people are buying more and more refurbished telephones, mobile phones, of course. They have some understanding, I think, about the percentage that if it, but then you still have to know, right? So after 5 years, if it has a percentage of 96%, is that high? Is that low?
And that's the point.
The problem.
What is a good percentage? And in order to judge that, you need to have much more information, because when you fully charge your phone, it will tell you 100%. It doesn't tell you it will last for 8 hours or 12 hours or 4 hours. And with a BEV, when you charge it to fully 100%, it will tell you this car can drive for 450 kilometers or 500 or 520. And to be able to give to have a judgment call on a percentage, you need to understand what is the age of the vehicle, what is the mileage, how has it been charged, what was the original range. And at the end of the day, when people are shopping for a BEV, they need to have a car that has sufficient range that fits their lifestyle.
By the way, I just gave you or Tesla a compliment for thinking about the range anxiety immediately. Another point that I think were not very good in was taking the second-hand market in account when they started in Europe, especially in the Netherlands, also in after sales. They had to build that from scratch while they already were selling the cars. And suddenly they just decreased the prices, and then they increased the prices of new vehicles. So maybe you disagree with me, but I had the idea that Tesla was not very concerned about the second-hand market. Do you agree with that, and is that changed? Or?
I think it's not necessarily about not being concerned. It's about doing everything at the same time. We were not only launching a product, we were launching a bigger ecosystem. So also our supercharging network that had to be there. And when you talk about range anxiety, one thing to take that away is to, for example, like have trust that when you arrive at a supercharger, that is going to work. Tesla has an uptime of 99.9%. Good luck finding a Tesla supercharger that is not working. But building that trust that whenever you need it, it's going to work and that it's there is crucial for people to adopt the product in the first place. Then we were not only an OEM, but also building the whole sales infrastructure, the after sales and the whole network. So then, of course, you start with the sales of the new car. I think looking at the used car market now, of course, we see a lot of Teslas coming back into the market. We were the first brand that sold BEVs in big volume. So yeah, we're also the first ones that see them coming back in big volume. And that's where we have good conversations with our partnerships that have big fleets of Tesla. And the peaks are different in different markets across Europe. So I think it's also important that balances out more and to focus more on cross-border strategies to make sure that it flattens out a bit and that the impact becomes less. Yes, prices were dropped. I think we all want affordable EVs. Whenever you bring new technology into the market, at some point it develops and then supply chain becomes cheaper. We want to bring that back to the consumer, and then the impact is being absorbed in the used car market, and that's what we're dealing with today.
Yeah, and there's more competition, of course, also
Yes.
now in the electric car market. What do you think about this, Johan? When you look at the remarketing strategies of OEMs, for example, and then especially, of course, for the battery electric vehicles?
Well, in the research that we did recently in UK, there was a very limited amount of OEMs, very limited, that have state of health integrated in their certified program. So I think there is still a challenge. And I agree that retailers and salespeople are sometimes left out a bit on everything that needs to happen on EVs. And we also saw that there are not a lot of portals where you can have a search field on state of health. Even if you have it, most of them don't even add it. So there's still a lot to be done in that world. So I think car manufacturers can do more. Last year we also talked about this at another summit. Remarketing Summit was almost a call to action on, as a group, we should do something to really help this change. So I think there can be done more. Now, we know this all, and I don't know if you see this as well. Used cars has always been a bit like in the OEM, but not really a focus. Sometimes it comes up in the focus and there's another person on top and then it goes away. So it's always in waves, which I think certainly in a market where EVs are key is not a good strategy.
No. Friedrich, what's your say on this?
No, I definitely think that, as I said before, that used vehicles can be the catalyst of the electric transition. And also on that point, I mean, just to speak on the cross-border element that you mentioned before, it was one of our main concerns also when we were lobbying to Commission when they came forward with their automotive strategy, apart from access to data, which unfortunately was scrapped. We strongly lobbied and were very successful into putting a battery state of health, battery checks and so forth into the chapter of consumer care. Because before it was always a chapter of battery technology, battery development, a strong industry building as a competition to other battery-producing countries throughout the world. But the state of the battery, the state of the vehicle as a consumer concern was not there before, and this is a big success of AECDR, that we managed to get it there. And I think this is really important.
Can I say something on, and I think we've talked about this before as well. I think state of health is important. Why? It's a concern, so it needs to be handled. Now I'm going to be a bit, maybe extreme. It should be maybe a few percentage of the talk-to-way consumer. It's a concern. Here is a bit of information. We check. Here it is good. Now let's talk about other stuff.
Exactly.
More important stuff. But
What's the more important stuff?
I have the idea that as a wage overshadows everything.
Yeah.
But what's the more
important?
Yeah.
Help them on. Is this car working for you? Is it feasible to have it? Where do you live? Where would you charge? What's the cost for you? You have got some OEMs which are now have those tools that you can use on their website according to your range, according to, do you have a charger? Yes or no? These are things we need to help them with.
I fully agree with you. I can just say from many dealers that we have that indeed use these strategies to take the conversation away from, range anxiety,
Quality to
technology
something
anxiety,
else,
and so forth, and always offer a solution that can be very basic but very helpful. So we have a lot of, especially in rural areas where you have, people live in houses. Usually they have a parking spot at work. Perfect selling point for
Yes.
EVs. Ironically, data suggests they don't buy EVs. But if you make it easy for them, we have a lot of dealerships that have cooperations with electricians, and maybe they have a special deal with some company that provides the photovoltaics for the home, and it's a package deal, and people seem okay. I can see this is an investment, but it brings me forward, and over the duration of the time that I will drive this vehicle, that is also nice. I mean, let's be honest, the recidivism rate of people that drive EVs is not very high. That helps.
As I said, we produced 8 million vehicles already. I think we've collected some data to understand how our batteries last over time. And what we see is, yes, they do degrade a little bit in the beginning, but then at some point it remains flat for a super long time. And knowing that is a great selling point for a used vehicle. If you combine that with, for example, the maintenance cost. When you look at an ICE vehicle, the maintenance costs tend to increase the older the vehicle gets. With EVs, they remain flat. They're lower and they remain flat. So if your battery quality can remain flat, your maintenance costs remain flat, and it fits your lifestyle, then what is the reason not to go for the EV? Because with your EV, you get these software updates. Your car does get better every time, every few months that you get this update. So.
And that's also what you train at Tesla to have when there is a sales conversation. You focus on those benefits of driving an electric vehicle instead of driving a combustion engine vehicle.
Well, we tend to focus on what we do and not compare too much to what others do.
ICE vehicles, so that's
we don't have them.
No.
But what we have listed, for example, is on all the software updates that we've done between 2019 and today. What are the features and efficiency improvements that we've done? And put that whole list together. It's a pretty long list, and those are all options that were given for free, just to make sure that the cars remain fresh and up to date.
Yeah.
But I must mention that, first of all, the repair cost remains low unless the battery breaks. And unfortunately, the battery break, this is also something why we pushed it as a consumer issue. It's not you, I know. But other manufacturers, they define battery break as even minor damages. So they already have a problem which may cost the consumer more. And the problem is if one consumer gets a bill of 50,000 euros because the airbag deployed, even though the battery's fine, but it needs to be replaced because otherwise the warranty is no longer valid. They're going to tell that to all their friends.
Yeah.
And
But I think also on that one you need more
absolutely
education.
that's why we push for more standardization in battery repairability.
Exactly, you can repair a battery.
Exactly, you can, but unless you have to, as a God, no, I'm stuck in Italian. As a dealer, to send it back because it's just in your contract that you have to take out the battery because it has a scratch from the outside wall.
I see. Yeah.
And this is something we've been strongly lobbying towards the Commission. But I must also say, and this is another issue that we still have, and this might be a bit of my personal opinion, but we always consider the duration of the lifetime, and you say, okay, the vehicle, of course, over time will be cheaper. But there's Terry Pratchett, Discworld Noir, the rich person buys the good boots that last 5 years, and the poor person buys the boots that last 3 months, and then again and again and again, and will, in the end up spending more. And this is something that we really need to challenge because specifically now that we have the social leasing plans of the Commission in place and also in France, in my opinion, they're not targeted enough, but we need to catch more income groups to push them still, to give them the possibility, because I think the readiness to buy EVs is there and they see the advantage, but they just cannot afford the money up front.
I understand. By the way, I have another anxiety at this moment, and that is that we are running out of time completely. So I'm very sorry to have to wrap it up just as blunt as I'm doing right now. I think we can discuss a lot more. That's also, of course, why we have now not only one event on remarketing as Fleet Europe, the Remarketing Summit, but 2 events even. The Used Vehicle Retail Summit. So, well, yeah, and I think there's more to come. Maybe we have another podcast. I now would like to go to our closing notes. Well, and that's a very easy part for you because there's no discussion about this. We just want to know what's on your business agenda for the coming month. Eva, I would like to start with you.
For me, it's expanding the certified pre-owned label. We have recently ramped up the deliveries of the new Tesla Model Y. That also means that a lot of legacy Model Ys are being traded in by customers that go for the newest version. So a lot of Tesla Model Ys are coming back into our inventory. So we need to ramp up and scale up our operations in all the markets where we're active to make sure we can process all the vehicles and sell them as certified pre-owned.
All right, so busy days and months to come for you. Friedrich, what's on your agenda?
Summer break. No kidding. But yes, the commission is about to close, and we're going to use the summer break at AECDR to do thorough research because specifically after summer, we're going to see a lot of activity on greening corporate fleets. And that specifically for my members will be a problem, not just because greening corporate fleets in itself is a bit of a divisive issue, but because, as we have already said, the new car of today is the used car of tomorrow. So we're going to use the summer break to really evaluate what we can do to absorb these cars if the commission goes through, and to really make this initiative, as much as we criticize it sometimes, a success in the end.
All right, thank you. Johan?
Well, I think after the used vehicle retail summit that we've had, which was a first one again, I think the next is a first one as well, because we will start under the label of Global Fleet, which is also part of your area. We're going to go to the first remarketing activity in Latin America.
Yeah.
So we will have an remarketing activity over there in September. And the advisory board also asked to include state of health and EVs, because they are starting there in some countries. So I think that will keep me busy.
Yeah, I think so. Very exciting
Indeed.
to move to the Latin region, where we indeed also have a community. Well, I also have, of course, a pretty busy agenda. I'm not coming with you to Mexico, but
Unfortunately.
Unfortunately. I'm already preparing a bit for the Fleet Europe
Eva
days.
is, no?
I'm not active.
It's not that
I'm
part.
responsible for Europe.
But you're already in Frankfurt. It cannot get better than
No,
here.
it's a beautiful city. Let me also end my closing note with mentioning that the Fleet Europe Days in October, 22nd to the 25th of October, are for us already getting closer and closer, because there are a lot of preparations to do. So I think that will wrap it up. I want to thank you, the three of you, for being here with me in this podcast. I want to thank our listeners and viewers. Check out fleeteurope.com and globalfleet.com for more news, of course. And thank you very much.